and welcome to Together Unlocked. It's Wednesday, it's 3 o'clock. I'm Ju Gosling, artist and artistic director of Together 2012. With me in East London is
Julie Newman.
who's our chair artist in her own right. Wakey, wakey! It's only Wednesday, and over in the West Midlands.
Yeah, hi, you've got most of me. Strawberry and Surgeon here, business director of Together 2012, co-host of Together Unlocked, and we are up in Sutton Coldfield. Today I am shaven, remarkably, and just forgot that I wasn't supposed to wear a black t-shirt, but hey, there you go. Sorry, I am therefore wearing a black t-shirt and clean Wurzel Gummidge's white hair.
I'm Josh Surgener. I'm a PhD research student and host of Together TV. I have kind of swept over blonde hair and I'm wearing a grey British swimming sweatshirt.
Thank you, Josh. Josh is the young trendy one for anybody who can't actually see us, only hear us. I'm in my late 50s. I've got short tenured red hair, black framed glasses. Today I'm wearing a white t-shirt that's overprinted with a sort of maroon and silver design of, I think, some kind of electronic board. I can't really be much more precise than that, but it all looks very abstract and electronic and sweet. Thank you to my friend Roisin who sent that to me. I've also got my hands in splints, and I'm wearing a purple watch over one splint and a pewter bracelet over the other splint. Julie, do you want to describe yourself?
Yes, I've got silver and gold hair. I'm wearing dark rimmed glasses. I've got a white t-shirt, which is an Amnesty t-shirt, and it says "Choose Love."
And behind us is a graffiti banner that says Together 2012, the name of our organisation. And it has lots of symbols on it as well, if you could see the whole thing properly, of all the different things we do. In the course of a year, we do art, photography, filmmaking, drama, dance, street art, carnival, and probably quite a few other things that I've forgotten. We're essentially a festival organisation. We grew out of the Together 2012 festival for the London Paralympics in the main host borough of Newham. We're led by locally based artists, including that well-known part of East London, West Sutton Coldfield in the West Midlands, where Robin comes from. And each year we run a month-long festival in November, December for Disability History Month, which includes the International Together Disability Film Festival. But all year round in the morning, we have our clubs programme, and our clubs programme is completely free, as is everything we do, and open to any disabled people who can get to East London and anybody they want to bring with them for support. On a Wednesday, we have our pop-up poetry club, and in fact, the pop-up poetry club has just enjoyed its second week as a phone group. Do you want to tell us more, Julie?
It was really exciting to hear everybody's voices. We had an increased participation this morning, so we had about eight people plus additional staff members and myself. It ran for just over an hour, and about an hour and a half actually. And what happened was that people read out poems that they had chosen on the theme of landscape, and then there was a break. Everybody discussed those poems, but then there was a break, and people went off and wrote another masterpiece in the space of half an hour, which was pretty impressive. I really loved it. I never fail to be surprised at how talented our poets are, and how individual everybody is. It complements each other. It's like a wonderful cocktail of poetry.
Thanks, Judy. And you've got some poems, I think, from Taylor Henville and Dawn Barber to read in a little bit. If we just tell you a bit more about Wednesdays for anybody who's new to the show, we're usually joined, as it's Poetry Day, by our writer in residence, Penny Pepper, who's in Hastings, but unfortunately, Penny isn't well enough to join us today. So get well soon, Penny. It's just possible that Penny will join us on Friday instead, but otherwise, she'll be back next week. You can see behind me this week's teddy bear, who is called Fergus. We take part in the virtual bear hunt, so we have different teddies on screen each week for any children who, like us, are shielding and not going out, so they're able to do the bear hunt virtually. We also, because the Surgeoners as Paralympic athletes are the most competitive family in the world and they don't like being without their sport. So on a Wednesday, we discuss virtual sport and gaming, but we also race toys to see which teddy bear is going to wear a gold medal. Let's just have an introduction to today's bear.
You better introduce yours because ours is still warming up.
Is it? I thought your bear came in on Monday and joined us.
It did, and I'm just trying to look around and find it because it
No,
was
no,
here.
it's in the
These
training room.
you just can't trust them, can you? You know, 1 minute they're there, 1 minute not. So when we get to the Paralympics, which is usually about halfway through the show, around 3:30, we will have teddy bears competing for medals. Ours will be competing for the same single plastic gold medal that we got from the mayor in 2012 for taking part in the celebrations. And the Surgeoners bears will be competing for one of their numerous proper things. But hey, we don't mind. So we've got virtual sport coming up. We've got proper virtual sport gaming, Paralympics, and of course we have Precious's films. So each week, because we don't see a great deal of the outside world, we send Precious, the assistant's dog, out with a camera to see what the garden is looking like. And Precious has been out there as usual. So again, that is coming up too. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Julie?
No, not at all. I could see that there was a panic in Sutton Coldfield about the lack of bear. The bear has obviously crawled off. It's had enough of winning, so it's sort of like.
I think the honest answer is that Emily likes to tidy to keep herself from overboiling. So she decided to tidy my desk and office yesterday, and has tidied very well. So I will be taking the opportunity of the poem films to go and get the teddy bear back out the training room.
It's a shame you can't lend Emily out virtually, because not only would she be very welcome here, but I think anybody else watching would love to borrow Emily as well. What a treasure. So I do indeed have a film that's been sent in from Act Up Newham, our associate drama company. They're working every week over Zoom, making new plays, films, poems, and all sorts of things. At the moment, each member of the company is taking it in turn to lead. Last week on Friday, we saw Arwa's guided meditation, which was absolutely wonderful. You can find that, and you'll be able to find the highlights from today on our highlights page, which is a sort of sub-menu of the main Together TV page on our website. That's together2012.org.uk. So this one is a poem called Coronavirus, very timely, and it's led by Paiza Malik.
Well, this is what I do during lockdown. I write a poem called Coronavirus. Making everyone anxious, thinking of losing our precious time, activities, friends, and all. Good gracious. Routine to see our sons and daughters, missing our daily routine of work, shopping, and visitors. Stop all meetings as gatherings are banned. Coronavirus instantly invades us as planned. To reduce population, to standardize economy, to equalize prosperity, and to rebuild country. Coronavirus knows no mercy, killing everybody, making our pockets empty, ruining our economy, forcing stomachs to be always hungry, feeling and experiencing reality, extreme worries, anger, sadness, helplessly, about health uncertainty, watching death rates steadily. Coronavirus, will you go and let us survive? When do we get back our normal life? It is really disturbing, rapturing, and destroying our mind and body. When you leave, we will be happy. Adios, coronavirus.
Well, what a great poem that was. That's excellent.
Thank you so much for that, Pizer. That was great. So, Julie, I know you've got some poems to read from this morning's group, but it just reminded me with the topic of the poem that there seems to be quite a lot of confusion at the moment around what's permissible for people to do when they're shielding. If you read the papers, it makes it sound like all of us in the shielding group can now go out to once a day. But you actually had a call from the government to say that wasn't true, didn't you, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. Interestingly, I had a call out of the blue on Monday afternoon, but from the government helpline sort of centre, whatever they call themselves these days. I had a long chat to a very pleasant woman who was extremely helpful. And she said to me that I was to consider myself under lockdown until the end of June.
So, one of the issues seems to be, from my reading, that there's actually two shielding lists. There's what they call extremely clinically vulnerable, which are the first people that were put on, and then the clinically vulnerable who got added later. It's in layman's terms, it seems to be the thing about, well, we think you will die if you got coronavirus, means you're extremely clinically vulnerable. And we're pretty sure you'd go to hospital at the very least, means you're clinically vulnerable. But I think there's an awful lot of confusion, and I'm not even sure, bless his heart, that the Prime Minister really understood what was being said. We were all saying on Monday that, in fact, it's still a level 4 situation, as the government describe it. Coronavirus is not as yet becoming less of a problem. Again, you wouldn't know that to read some of the papers. But yeah, so we wouldn't be going out anyway, but do not believe that you suddenly have permission to go out once a day if you're shielding, because actually it seems far less clear. Has anybody in your family had any calls from the government, Robin?
Not directly that I'm aware of. I mean, Tracy and Josh have both had letters at the end of last week or whatever, just reminding them that they are still, on the critically vulnerable one, and with a whole load of stuff about getting where your PAs can get tested if they've shown any signs of coronavirus. I mean, not worrying about them. It's a bit late by the time they're showing signs, if you ask me. And there does seem to be some confusion about the numbers that Mr. Hancock is purveying to the public as how many people are actually being tested. Very quickly to say that the production team in the back room have said that the sound and the picture aren't quite in sync. Not sure we can do much about that now.
No, I'm not sure we can do anything about that, because that sounds to me like yet another internet problem. For anybody who's watching, we go through a platform called Be Live. So we are streaming, if you like, up to their platform, and they are streaming to YouTube. It's a new problem, so that's an interesting one for us. Julie, what I suggest is that we go over and you read some poems now from this morning's group, and I will just see if there is anything I can do to work out what the problem is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to respond to Robin's point, when I was speaking to the very pleasant woman from on behalf of the government, I pointed out the fact that we didn't actually have any uh, personal protective equipment supplied for our PAs or social care workers. So she said that she'd make a note of that. I can't imagine anybody paying any attention, but she was certainly going to bring it up with the local council.
Well done.
So, hopefully, I think every time we have one of these calls, it's helpful to actually restate that position. I'm going to start off because we were talking about shielding and lockdown and so on. I'm going to start off with a poem from Dawn Barber, um, which is in response to a sense of isolation and being on her own. And she's called it Angel. And she says, I have an angel that sits on my shoulder. She'll look after me until I get older. She smiles at me with her lovely bright eyes when I worry or have anxiety. She'll take it away like the waves of the sea. She'll strengthen me every day. She'll help me follow my dreams, and she'll give me hugs and make me feel secure. She'll help me now and when I get older, that angel that sits on my shoulder. I think it's a lovely image of, having somebody nurturing right there alongside you. Whatever that might come from, whatever that originates from. Um, and Taylor, whose last name Taylor Henville, uh, started off the session this morning with a longer poem, and then she wrote a shorter one in the break. But the first one is a narrative poem. It's called The Mirror. In a chamber of this castle, far away from view, I lie here and observe my surroundings in this room. Moss, green, velvet curtains guard the window, hanging heavy at its sides. Large tapestries with stern faces glare down, stitched in time. Oak wood wardrobes and chest of drawers stand tall against the wall, looming as though they're meant to topple and fall. I can see this all in the grand wall mirror as I lie in my four-poster bed, as sleep evades me. But as I reflect on my reflection, I notice something strange, that in the mirror the chamber door stands ajar, while here the door is bolted. I sit up in horror as I see more things start to appear through the looking glass. Here in my room, through open curtains, the moon shines bright. In the mirror, the curtains are drawn, and a single candle flickers and glows trapped behind the glass. Suddenly, in the mirror, the candle explodes into a raging fire. With this, I jump out of bed, running to the door, and with one last look behind me, I see the blaze burst through its restraints, the mirror in shatters, a barrier no more. That's an amazing story.
Yes, that's lovely, Julie. Thank you. And thank you, Taylor. Keep them coming. We have a comprehensive join in from home program of inclusive, accessible activities, all available on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. And the activities are sort of connected with the clubs that we run in more usual times. So for the Together pop-up poetry club activity, we're inviting you to write a poem on the theme of together, and we're going to publish those in an anthology in the autumn as a physical book as well as an ebook, and everybody who contributes a poem will get a copy of the physical book. You can send those poems to tv@together2012.org.uk, but we welcome poems on any subject, your artwork, your videos, films, dance pieces, comments, and of course, if you click onto the website page and watch us directly on YouTube, you can also join in with live chat. Robin, did you have anything you wanted to add about poetry?
I've been thinking quite a lot about it, and I'm just about to get throw myself into writing something. Been asked to work with a couple of other local poets, and I did mention this briefly on Monday, to produce a couple of pieces of work around now, literally, kind of, or the next couple of weeks, and the impact of coronavirus and isolation, and kind of looking at many of the things that we've talked about how, you know, our isolation is something that we're used to in many ways, and many of our kind of fellows are used to, and kind of we've got these unwanted visitors coming into our isolation in their own isolation, and having a sort of very brief understanding, but then knowing that they're going to leave again. So lots of really deep thoughts, I think, really. I think it's probably the best description for it. But I think both, you know, in terms of what we're talking about together and the together poetry, I think it would also fit very much under that banner, because it's about the joint experience that you're having with other people on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a bit more. Am I right in thinking from Monday this is a project that's linked to Birmingham 2022 and the Commonwealth Games?
I believe it is. I mean, I know that sounds a little bit vague, and I'm very kind of on the beginnings of understanding of it, but the kind of the cultural leads for the Commonwealth Games are convening what's going on. And it seems to me that as a very first point of kind of public contact, they're going to be producing an online series of things on the 20th of June. And underneath, you know, kind of with that, it's going to be called the Midsummer Festival. But it is there is this kind of this beginning of understanding of moments that are going to occur between now and 2022.
And of course, the Commonwealth Games, I mean, without preempting the sports discussion, are really something for everybody to focus on, because we all hope in 2 years' time that, you know, coronavirus is mostly a thing of the past, and otherwise we have all of the systems in place for it not to be a problem. It's going to be such a huge celebration. Is the 20th of June relevant? Is it when the Commonwealth Games will start in 2022, or is it just convenient because it's midsummer?
It's convenient around using cultural dates that are relevant to the Midlands. So they're going to be using across the next 12 months or so, at least, they're going to be using Midsummer Day, August Bank Holiday, Eid, Diwali, and the winter equinox and the spring equinox, and kind of using those as points, you know, moving towards where we're going, but reflecting. And then there's so much, I mean, in some ways, what's going on with you know, coronavirus and the society, the implications for society, actually add a huge amount of ingredients that wouldn't have otherwise been there. The whole changes in how we're going to be able to practice things, how they're going to deliver art, how the delivery of art will change over the next 24 months. You know, how can you plan when you don't know what you can plan for? So there's a kind of huge amount of underlying things that are feeding into just this very beginning process. But there are lots of, so at the moment it's the arts organisations of the West Midlands that are doing this under what's called the Cultural Response Unit.
Well, that sounds interesting in itself. I mean, I try not to look at what we would have been doing in different times, but I think it's inevitable that everybody does sometimes. And we have another associate company. We have Act Up Newham, as we've just seen, is our associate drama company, but we also have an associate wheelchair dance company called Folk in Motion, we've mentioned before. And Folk in Motion were due to be taking part in the Paralympic flame handover ceremony at Stoke Mandeville, ready for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. So we were very disappointed, but I'm already thinking, well, if the Paralympics do go ahead next year, that doesn't mean it's going to be safe for us to take part in the handover ceremony. Whereas, yeah, I'm thinking 2022, we're all very much hoping to be out of the house in Birmingham and watching the Commonwealth Games, or at least sitting in the garden and listening to them on the radio and not having to hide indoors because the garden is too small to allow a social distancing. Are you excited? I mean, is there an excitement around the West Midlands yet about the Commonwealth Games, or would it all have been superseded at this point by the Olympics and Paralympics?
I think, well, I mean, for anyone who's kind of involved in sport that is at that kind of or approaching that competitive level, certainly is. There are plenty of people who work in construction who are excited about the Commonwealth Games and, the impending infrastructure, the excitement around the fact that there'll be another 50-metre pool other than the one at the uni in Birmingham. Well, it's in Sandwell, we won't get into that, but under the auspices of Birmingham anyway. So no, I mean, I do think there's a huge amount in there. I mean, and actually, again, from our side of it, the art side of it, I mean, the sport kind of happens on the way. I keep doing hand movements that you can't see. We used to. But yeah, so sorry. So kind of the art stuff is building already. And plans for what ceremonies are going to contain and all sorts of things. I think the guy, is it Martin Green, who did that was to do with London, is also going to be.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, is I don't know if he's curating the whole opening, but it's definitely part of it. But yeah, so the sports stuff, if you are an elite sports person or, in the level immediately below that, where competing in the Commonwealth Games is a possibility, then it will be in your training plan now. You will be working towards that. If you had been at the Olympics this year, then it would have been in a 2-year cycle. Now it's going to be like 2 12-month cycles based around 2 elite performance opportunities.
Yeah, I think some of the, especially around the Commonwealth Games and how it differs to the Olympics, for those athletes that are kind of 16, 17 now that will be looking at 2022 as maybe they're kind of their first big competition, is that to get to the Olympics, there's kind of 2 or 3 spots, because it's GB, so you have to compete as everything. Whereas for the Commonwealth Games, because it is split into kind of England, Scotland, well, it's not easy to qualify, but there's a larger contingent of British athletes that will be there, because it is kind of broken down into the home nations rather than being GB as a whole. So it's a really good opportunity for some of those younger athletes to kind of break through on maybe that second and third spot that would have otherwise, as an English athlete that might have gone to technically a Scottish athlete at the Olympics, but it's all under Team GB. And I think that's where a lot of the excitement comes from.
Yeah,
is that.
And from Paralympic sport side of it, being the generic term for disability sport now, it's different, whereas the Olympics and the Paralympics are kind of discrete competitions. The Commonwealth Games hosts para events within the same competition, which works great within the Commonwealth Games, and it does give an additional platform to then promote Paralympic sport, which will, sensibly happen separately from the Olympics. we don't need to get into that argument.
Well, we've got time, but not today. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll just keep coming back to Birmingham 2022 because, like I say, it's the one thing we can focus on that we can be pretty damn certain is going to happen. Julie, I think we should just take a moment to watch Precious Newman's
Oh, yeah.
virtual nature watch. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Precious on the screen. We're going to take us off, but Julie is going to do some audio description for anybody who can't see the film.
So Precious gallops through to the light. She stands, she pauses, she looks around, she looks up, just in case there's a bird or a neighbour, or is there anybody out here? Perhaps a cat? Or maybe I'll go back in. No. Yes? No. Where's my brother? My brother's not out here. It's just me. Oh, there he is. There he is. Yes. Yes, I thought he'd come out. Oh my goodness, there's so much going on this morning. I don't know what's happening. Oh, I have to look around. Yes, another look around. Pause. Stop. Look. Listen. Look. Listen. Gallop. Jump onto table. Yes, right, Precious. So jumping on the table is quite handy because you can look down on your brother from up here. Also, you get a better view of the top of the gate. Looking around again, there's a dog at the end of the garden who sometimes comes out. He's my friend, but he sometimes needs me to shout for him. I don't know where he is today because I don't hear him at all. Oh, wait a minute, is that him? No, I don't. It may be. I don't know. There's no birds. There's nobody out here except my brother, and he's a bit boring. Oh, hang on. Is there somebody over the? Oh, there might be somebody over the fence. Hello? Is there anybody there? Oh my goodness. I think it's just me. Where is everybody? Is everybody gone? It's just me and my mummy. The green leaves, the brown fence. There's a bench. There's nobody sitting on the bench. There's nobody sitting on a chair. There's nobody sitting on top of a compost bin either. I don't know where anybody is. I think it's just me. Oh, wait a minute. Shall I call them? Hello? Hello? Are you there? Hello? 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 Well, I can't see anybody. Nobody's calling. Hello? Is anybody there? I'm going to tell my mummy. There's nobody here, mummy. No, I'm coming in. I have to go in now. Poor Precious.
Thank you for that, Julie.
You've been training her, haven't you? That's it.
Well, I think it's really interesting. Julie has told us before it's a very cheap. I think it's about a £30 little sports camera. You can buy, which is like a GoPro but not. You can buy bags full of accessories, which includes this kind of comedy jacket that you can strap the camera onto the dog. My dog won't. Jazz won't consider it. And I think it's really interesting that Julie heads up our filmmaking and photography program at Together 2012, and her dog just goes, "Oh, yes, it's a camera. I'll just go out with my camera on then, shall I?" And mine just looks at it and thinks, "You have to be joking. There is no way I'm going to wear that." Yeah, I mean, I think if we'd got anything else anywhere else we could send her to, we would. But unfortunately, we're shielding. We've got one small garden, and if by some miracle anybody did volunteer to walk the dogs, I'm still not sure it would be appropriate to go out with a camera if we didn't want everybody following us home again. But you must be so proud of Pet Cam.
I'm terribly proud. I think it's nice for Precious. It always surprises me that I get the little harness out, and she just stands there and just lets me put it on her, lets me put the camera on, and then off she goes, does her work, and then she comes back in again. You know, as good as gold. But it's sort of like that's just Precious. That's what she does.
Yes, whereas with my assistant's dog just experiments and learns new things, most of which involve kind of letting cats out or bin diving or, anything else. But so moving on to sport, have you managed to find your teddy bear?
Ah, of course. Here we are. This is Meowth.
Meow.
Meowth.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what contemporary teddy. Well, actually, future teddy. This is from Pokemon.
So
Again,
there's another one that isn't really a teddy, isn't it? Let's be
what is
honest.
this? A teddy?
Contemporary as in the 90s. Is that what?
Well, from where I'm looking, it's got a kind of lemon body with browny red toes. It's got very strange eyes and mouth, ears that don't look like a teddy bear's. And what is it that's sticking out of the middle of its head, I ask?
It's a bit of extra Pokemon bit.
Okay, so it's a self-confined teddy bear. In London, we have a traditional brown teddy bear, which actually I think is probably about 45 years old. It's got an old blue cat collar, and he is called Fergus. So we have two clockwork racing grannies. One of them has a red blanket on their knees, and one of them is wearing a blue blanket on her knees. Do you want the blue blanket or the red blanket?
I think we're going to have to go red blanket this week.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think what I'm going to do to avoid any echo, if I can, is just turn the sound right down on this, and then you can commentate and shriek to see who is actually going to win. But let's get this up nice and big for a minute. And also, let me take this text off the screen because we don't want any arguments over who has won. And it looks to me like the red blanket is on the right hand side.
Yeah, that's correct.
Here we go.
Ready? Here we go.
Ready.
The Newham Classic. And the red blanket's out for an early lead, and she's absolutely stormed that race.
As ever, Commonwealth champions of the future. We reign 3 weeks in a row. No question.
And could you tell us which medal you're wearing?
Not only do we not have a proper teddy, we don't have a proper medal either.
We have a Ballon d'Or.
We have my most valuable player award from the National Junior Basketball Championships from some year. What year was it? Spin it around.
Does it say?
No, it doesn't. But it was from some year. My most valuable player award. So yeah, we didn't even have a proper medal this week either.
All I can say is those third prize certificates for the egg and spoon race take up an awful lot less space. But well done, Josh. I believe you used to be a bit of a whiz with the basketball before you moved on to uni and swimming and other things. And this obviously proves it. You could hit a burglar over the head with it as well, but that would be recommending violence.
They're getting relaxed about winning now, aren't they?
I think they're very used to winning.
Yeah, winning is a habit, as they always say.
Yes. So, Josh, over to you for some talk about gaming and virtual sport and what is there to do this week.
Well, gaming first. I've been playing a very serious game called Man Eater, which is not very serious at all. It is completely preposterous, in which you play as a shark and swim around and eat things. And the more things you eat, you level up, and then you get bigger, and then you get cool upgrades. It's completely ridiculous. It's just really good fun. It's they jokingly call it a shark PG, which is like a role-playing game, but you are a shark. And yeah, it's preposterous, but it's really good fun. So Emily and I have been playing that quite a lot. You haven't played it yet, have you, Dad? But you seem to think that it is pointless. You want to join in on you?
Well, I don't. It's no more preposterous than any of the other games, and I mean, but that's the whole point, isn't it? We are suspending reality, and that's the joy of computer gaming is that if that's I've been bass fishing in the Arctic, so on stuff. So not recently.
And I think it's a really important point. I mean, I remember, oh God, such a long time ago, I can't even remember how long ago it was, but about 25 years when I was doing my PhD, and I was kind of seen as an internet pioneer, except of course they didn't even have those terms. But there was a lot of writing around, the early Nintendo. You had tiny little screens, you had basically black and white illustrations, and you could be taken into a whole world. And same with the original, what they used to call multi-user, the dungeons, the muds, the multi-user environments, where you were just typing stories, but it's just that whole world of your imagination. And now we have, for a very expensive price, all the kind of VR headsets and HD and Ultra HD games. You kind of forget that actually it's that imaginative link, isn't it? It's not really how kind of high tech the representation of the world is around you, it's how much you just go in there. And yeah, just that little bit of writing on a tiny little screen can still be the gateway to a whole new universe.
I can remember playing table tennis on
Um,
a tiny little screen.
Yeah, I mean, the video games can have really immersive, in-depth stories, and can be a really, really powerful vehicle for storytelling. And there's some of the games that are essentially kind of interactive films and things. But yeah, sometimes it is just fun to play something that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very cartoony. It's narrated by, I think it's Chris Parnell, who's a comedian and voice actor, and it's really funny. And I think sometimes it's nice, especially in times like these, to not take yourself too seriously. You don't have to play the next kind of Shawshank of games. Sometimes you can just play something stupid and go and eat people on a beach.
But I mean, I think the other thing is that it probably won't come out this year now. I suppose it might, but I mean, certainly, for Beijing, we had the Beijing Olympic game. We've got Winter Olympic games
on the Wii. That was great, wasn't it?
And it's fun. It's competitive. And it gets you to do sports you can't imagine being able to do yourself. Whether that's because you don't live in a freezing cold place for the snow, or because you've got you don't have the capacity, whatever. But you can do it, and it's still the kind of from our perspective as the disabled people's world, those who aren't able to compete in any kind of elite sport level, it is actually it's much as I mock him for playing it far too much. I do there are many games that are just, they don't have to be shoot 'em up games. Skill games and stuff as well are kind of really good. And lots of games out there for that are aimed around improving your memory, your mental capacities and stuff like that as well, which are kind of a completely different dimension. And obviously that's the sort of game I need.
I don't know. I mean, I was digging out my old Nintendo DS Lite because I think that's one of the things about lockdown. It's about sort of going, well, we don't have anything terribly up to date, but we had something that was maybe up to date once, and they're still just as fun. But I noticed I'd got amongst my collection of little discs the sort of memory games and so on, but they looked pretty much untouched from the first time round, and I kind of feel like they'll be untouched the second time round. Quite often I just like playing a free game on my phone, and as we've said, you don't have to have access to anything particularly expensive. I did at one point think about getting out the old ping pong, but I think I must have thrown that out at some point, where you just got two huge handsets and you just basically knocked a ball backwards and forwards. But fascinating stuff. So where would I find this shark game? Will we put a link onto it on the highlights page?
We can do. It's you can probably get a physical copy, or you can download it from the virtual stores of your respective consoles. But yeah, I'll send the name over so people can find it. It's Man Eater, all one word.
Is it free, Josh?
No, it's not. It's it is a paid game.
Well, let's hope it's relatively cheap, because I like the sound of that. I've just been so appalled at the kind of reports of how selfish people have been going down to the seaside. And, you know, we haven't got Penny with us today, but it must be very difficult. I know last week she said Hastings hadn't had too much of a problem, but I suspect things might have changed over the weekend. Well, I had a residency down in Dorset, and for about 5 years, over sort of 6 months of the year, I was up and down to a caravan on a nature reserve, along indeed with Julie. So we know the area quite well, and it's just heartbreaking to see the rubbish, the human waste, the kind of the lack of consideration for the locals, and just the lack of concern about getting infected again. I think the idea of kind of jaws coming along and eating people up. You know, I mean, how it must have felt to be working for the emergency services over the weekend. I just can't bear to think, you know, they've been so overstretched for so long to have to sort of deal with such selfishness.
I know, I mean, and the refuse collectors, you know, there are so many reports here of, you know, we've got loads of beautiful parks in Birmingham. And yeah, all the reports are people are going out and just leaving their rubbish. I mean, maybe they've always done that, and it's not been, you know, because it's always been there. It's less obvious. I mean, I got threatened to have to be literally beaten the life out of me by someone because I watched him throw his McDonald's out of his window, like next to the bin. I wouldn't even minded at, you know, at the car drive-through, and said to the guy, you know, what are you doing? At which point, kind of 3 burly men got out of the car, and I drove off really quickly. So you do have to be careful, but it's just really concerning, you know, and obviously perhaps places have got cleaned up during the available space when, you know, they weren't being used publicly, and all of a sudden it's just back there, and it's just ridiculous. You know, if you've got rubbish, take it home with you.
And I all stay at home, and of course, you know, that is our plea.
Yeah.
We still have a level 4 situation. The lockdown has not finished. You are allowed to go out to work if you have no choice. You are allowed to go shopping, but preferably on your own, and preferably not very often, maybe just once a week. You're allowed to meet one person from another household, but not if you're on the shielding list. If you're on the shielding list, at most you should be going out for exercise once a day. And if you're on the extremely vulnerable list, despite what it says in the press, you should not be going out at all. But there are lots of things you can do to stay creative at home, including our very kind of full program on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. You just go to the join in from home link, and we also have videos and films to watch, playlists to listen to, so you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy. You don't have to be getting active. But if we're not feeling particularly creative or arty that day, and we want to do some sport or some gaming, what else can you recommend, Josh?
Well, top flight football in kind of the Premier League is returning on the 17th, 15th, 17th of June.
Formula One.
Yeah, I was going to get into that one. So yeah, that football will be back. How long that continues to happen, we don't know, because whether it's a sensible idea or not is a separate discussion. Yeah, Formula One. I think they're kind of finalising it now, but they released their European schedule. And I think it's kind of 7 races
Mm.
across Europe. The first one's in Austria in July. Julie might know. I haven't looked at the dates yet. And yeah, they're going to host a couple of races at Silverstone. Even. Apparently, the F1 team is going to be exempt from the 14-day quarantine period, which is completely baffling. I don't know why. Just because you drive a fast car doesn't mean you can't get coronavirus. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But as much as I kind of have to criticise the science behind their decision making, I am also quite looking forward to being able to watch some F1 racing when that comes back in a couple of weeks. Have you got any other sport you wanted to?
No, I mean we were going to talk briefly, and Josh from Monday about some of the issues around or some of the athletes that are
LGBT athletes.
Got stuck for words there.
Sarah, I know that's something you mentioned, June.
Yeah, it's Pride Month for those of you who've recently joined us. So throughout the month, we'll be coming back to those topics. It's also Newham Heritage Month, which we're going to talk about on Friday. And I think, yes, we touched briefly on Monday, didn't we, about the issues about coming out and also being, how well you could perform if you couldn't be your authentic self. I remember being asked to give a quote back in the Sochi Paralympics, where the head of the British Paralympics and I think the World Paralympic Committee, what was the chap's name? Can anybody help me out? There was a Brit who used to not only lead the British Paralympic movement, but
Phil Craven.
I'm not sure it was. Well, anyway, whoever.
You think it was Seb Coe? He did all the Olympics stuff.
No, I definitely know who Seb Coe is. No, this is Paralympic specific. Well, I'm not going to take a punt unless I'm exactly certain it was, but essentially he, and I think whoever it was a Sir something or other, but essentially no, it wasn't Phil Craven, but he was going out there saying, it shouldn't be an issue for athletes because athletes were saying, look, if I'm lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, I have real concerns about going out to a country where it's effectively illegal to be gay and you can get beaten up and you can be imprisoned. Oh, well, it shouldn't be an issue. And I thought, well, it's all very well, but suppose you had a gay partner, you instantly start with all of these social things around the Paralympics and all of these meetings and receptions and meet and greets, parties. What happens if you can't take your partner? How does that instantly make you feel? What happens if you can't bring along a minute? Oh, you're back again.
Welcome back.
And we lost you completely.
Oh, no, we lost you.
you.
So I don't know who was actually being seen on the stream.
Lost.
The internet is having some problems today. I did look up on the help site about sound being out of sync, and apparently that can't happen. And since we know that it has, I think, again, what we're asking the internet to do is actually huge amounts of data processing. It's not surprising it finds it a little bit difficult sometimes.
There was an article on very briefly about Zoom this morning. So Zoom being a different internet platform, and they in April their user figures went up from 10 million to 300 million. I mean, that is some jump,
Yeah.
But that just shows. That the fact that if the internet is straining a little bit round its metaphorical edges, then it's not surprising.
Well, the idea of being able to do live broadcasting over the internet even 10 years ago, it would have been so much more difficult and so much more complicated. But yes, I don't know if you'd got anything to add to the discussion about athletes and pride. I'm sure it's something we'll just keep coming back to all month. But I did want to flag up again, which we said on Monday, Regard, the National LGBTQI plus Disabled People's Organisation, is organising 4 Zooms, that's the link, for Pride Month. The first is this Sunday from 3 to 4. What they're doing is making sure there's a variety of options. So there's one on a Saturday, then there's a midweek one, then there's another one at the weekend, there's another midweek one, and different times. And then I think what they're going to do is try and do a monthly Zoom after that, looking at the sort of times and dates that have worked for them. So if you want the details, just contact us, tv@together2012.org.uk, or we'll also put the Regard link up if you'd like to join Regard. It's open to any disabled person and their allies. There's all sorts of different membership, but it's all free. You know, if you're a company and you want to be an associate member, donations are very welcome, but essentially it's free. And that's an opportunity just to have a general chat and bring up any issues that you'd like regards to campaign around, ask advice about anything. So that's tv@together2012.org.uk, or have a look at our highlights page.
I just wanted to say very, very quickly that as an organisation, Together completely condemns any discrimination whatsoever on the basis of race or sexuality or religious belief or spirituality. And we stand with our Black comrades and sisters and brothers against racism as it's being acted out at the moment in the States.
Thank you, Julie. I just feel so upset about the whole thing that I can't actually articulate the words. So thank you very much for that. But yes, it's meant most sincerely. And as an organisation, you know, if you think we can do more, then please let us know. We're always willing to listen. So on Friday, we may or may not have Penny Pepper pop in, but we always start with dressing up to go out to stay in. It's a bit like the formal Fridays that started in New Zealand, but with a bit of a twist. We can be dressing up to go out to do absolutely anything, real or imaginary. We'd love to see you dressing up to go out to stay in, and send us your photos and videos. We also have a section later on Friday called Something for the Weekend, and then we'll recommend all sorts of different things that you can do over the weekend that are available online, mostly for free, including free gigs, film festivals, plays, activities, children's things, and anything else of interest that we can find. And of course, Friday is Art and Music Day, so we have people's art to show you, including some photography and images from Josh. And of course, it's Music Day, so we will be playing out with another song by Robin Surgener. And for everybody who enjoyed Robin's We Will Survive last week, we are in the process of organising a group rendition for your edification and delight. So I look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Yeah, and from up here in the Midlands, yeah, I mean, the weather is broken here. We have rain, and it feels very fresh. The garden is definitely going to appreciate it, probably a little bit more than us. But yeah, I mean, it's. I wanted to say something, and not to bring too downer on the show, but I think we need to remember that so much has been said about COVID and everybody dying from COVID and all the effects of it, but there are many other things happening in people's lives that aren't anything to do with COVID, but are equally tragic. And I just wanted to a nod to a family friend of ours who's a motorcyclist that was killed on Sunday afternoon. So just to Leon, really, to remember that, you know, and for other people to not be forgotten, I think is what I'm trying to get into, that is to not forget that there are other things going on in people's lives that are unfortunately as sad as death from COVID. Sorry to end on a bum note.
No, I think it's really important. You know, we it's important to all of us not to ignore what's going on, but to acknowledge it, accept it, and live with it as best we can. That's pretty much all we have time for, but I know all of these topics are topics that we'll be continuing to discuss. I will also shortly be announcing the first commissions for our Together 2012 Disability History Month Festival, which will in fact be our ninth festival. It will be the Together 2020 Disability History Month Festival. And within that, there is going to be more than one art project, which is around remembering, and again, not just remembering those who we've lost to coronavirus. Julie, am I right in thinking you would like to read a poem?
I thought, as Sarah Penny isn't here, perhaps I could read out Taylor's poem to finish on.
That would be great, thank you.
And I'll say bye bye to you guys.
Yes, and goodbye from me.
Okay.
So this is Taylor
Henville.
Henville's poem that she wrote this morning. Time feels frozen. That's the title. Time feels frozen, a rebellious stance against the glaring heat of the sun, refusing to thaw. Inside our houses, actions are done on loop. Eat, sleep, exercise, repeat, with some time set aside for whimsy, just like routine. We stand in solidarity with time, in the shade where it's cool. Be patient, be cool, don't fan the flames of conspiracy and hate. And eventually, life outside will change and start anew. We'll acclimatize, and time will start to melt and slip through our fingers like water.